We need to do more to promote the good word that is Tokyo Revengers. The show is friggin' sweet. But with that said, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another one of our weekly Tokyo Revengers discussion video. Today we're here to talk about episode 3, Resolve. But before we get into that, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet, to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, let all of AniTube know that you're here, and we're gonna set a like goal. Let's go ahead and give you guys a challenge, because these videos have been not performing as well as I would have hoped. So we gotta hit that like goal, gotta promote this video, push it in the algorithm. Let's say 100 likes in the first day. If we can get to 100 likes in the first day, guarantees that I come back for another video, because doing 2 videos a day just so I can talk about Tokyo Revengers. I want to make sure these videos do well, because this is my job. So let's try to hit 100 likes in the first day if you want me to come back and talk about Tokyo Revengers again next week. But with that said, let's go ahead and talk about this week's friggin' episode. And the main thing I want to talk about is Mikey and Draken. And I'm going to start with Mikey. Mikey immediately leaves a big impression on me. I think Mikey as a character is super cool. Especially since, like, he does seem to know a little bit more than he's letting on, you know, and we'll talk character design, but before we do, I do want to hammer home some stuff about the character that I found interesting. The main one being, does he know? Because there's a few times where it's like, does he know something? Because, like, there's this moment where he's like, I'm not giving up again, or I'm not running away. And Draken's like, what are you talking about? But Mikey just has this look on his face, right? Like when they show up at Takemichi's school, Draken's like, what are you talking about? But Mikey doesn't have that reaction. He's just like, okay. Like he just has this sort of like, all right. Like he's dialing in what Takemichi's saying and that it's resonating to some degree. And then that could just be that he just, you know, vibes with what Takemichi is saying, which Draken does as well, just, you know, not in the sense that Draken, like, understands that he's from the future, but more that he just, you know, vibes with what Takemichi's throwing out there. But Mikey does seem to know. I say that because in the shot that you're seeing on screen, probably, because I don't know until I'm editing this, but there's this shot where it's after Takemichi gets his ass kicked by what's-his-face, who I hope we don't have to see anymore. It's implied by Takemichi's buddies that, like, they're not his servants anymore, that he's just, that Mikey and Draken put an end to that. But Mikey, you know, he goes to save Takemichi from getting his ass kicked further and beaten up with a bat, and Mikey, like, leans over to him and sort of picks him up and says, are you really in middle school? And it's like, okay, is he saying that in the sense of, like, are you really, like, that young? Because you're pretty badass. Or is he saying that, like, you act a lot older and I might know why that is, right? Like, is there something about Mikey that is indicating that he knows more than he's letting on? I genuinely kind of think so. Especially when you pair it with the whole, I want to make a new era for delinquents thing. We find out that Mikey is very much, like, a fan of the old school idea of delinquents, right? Like they're sort of like funny enough, this show has been reminding me a lot of the Yakuza games, where like Kiryu has this romanticized version of what a Yakuza is, right? Which might stand in contrast to the cold reality of what Yakuza are. But it's the same thing with Mikey and delinquents. Mikey feels like delinquents are, you know, like, we've seen how bad it can be, you know, like, being around delinquents, but Mikey sees it as more of, like, yeah, you know, like, we kind of run our area, and we are rambunctious, to say the least, but when we see problems, we fix problems. When people need us, we're there, right? Like, we control the situation so that the situation doesn't get out of control. We are the situation, you know, like, we are in charge. We are the one who knocks. So to Mikey, it seems like he wants to bring back that golden era for delinquents, but he wants it to be a little something new too, like a new era for delinquents, since he says, like, people think that being a delinquent is lame these days. And Takemichi was echoing that, like, 15 years into the future, right? Like, Takemichi's like, delinquency is lame, right? Like from our time period. Like that's a lame, like dyeing your hair blonde and like the whole biker jacket or like the friggin' Josuke hair, like that idealized version of the delinquent is seen as sort of old hat these days. There's a car right outside my window, I apologize. But that is seen as sort of old hat these days, and it's not really what people, like, it's not what people want to be anymore, like that's not cool anymore. And even back then, Mikey was aware of that and wanted to bring it back to where it was. And I think that's really cool. Like, I think that, like, making, like, not that it's cool to be a delinquent, don't hurt people, but it's cool to see this sort of character with, like, his own passions and drive, and he knows what he wants. He's gonna go out there and get it, and he has the strength to back it up. So I really appreciated how much effort they put into Mikey's story, especially the fact that Takemichi reminded him of his older brother, who was like 10 years older, but he's no longer around. Probably died in a fight. It's sort of implied that he was killed in a fight or something, because he says that Takemichi reminds him of his older brother because he would pick fights with people clearly stronger than him just because of his resolve. So that's what Mikey sees in Takemichi, or Takemichi, as they call him, Michi, Takemichi, instead of Michi. But at least that's how the subtitles go. But I do think it's interesting how they sort of play off Mikey's interest in Takemichi as like this sort of like vision of his older brother. It's interesting. I do want to see where it goes. But in terms of like his actual design, at first I was a little like, oh, like it's a cool design. It's more of like a rule of cool thing, but I don't know if there's enough for me to really sink my teeth into. Lied. There actually is. So the blonde hair, I don't really have much to say about. He has sort of like a lion's mane, right? Like he has this sort of like lion's mane type hair. It's cool. I like it. It's blonde. A lot of delinquents have blonde hair. Nah. But what struck me at first, like the first thing that struck me about the design that I'm like, oh, I can actually talk about that, is the eyes. Mikey has these like dark blue eyes. I'm saying like super dark to the point where I didn't even realize they were blue at first. Like hella dark navy. Like super dark. Which I find really interesting because like blue as a color is sort of this like conservative type of color, but it can also be sort of much like black, and Mikey does wear a lot of black, but much like black, it can be like an authoritative color, right? Like blue is worn by a lot of figures of authority, and while Mikey is a delinquent, a lot of authority comes with him as this sort of leader figure amongst the other delinquents, but it's so dark, right, that it sort of blends both the color, both like the vibe of the authority that comes with black and the authority that comes with blue, and sort of makes it this like dark amalgamation where it feels as though Mikey's eyes, like if they're the window to the soul, Mikey has seen some shit. Mikey has very clearly seen some dark stuff and is struggling to work past it. The other big thing about the thing about his character design that really interests me. Sorry, why is everybody driving past my friggin' window today? Just friggin' Backstreet Boys reunion tour outside. People are still whatever. But the other big thing about the character that really strikes me as interesting is the fact that he wears his jacket like a cape, but on the inside is red, right? So on the outside it's just your basic stock, delinquent outfit, right? He's got the black jacket, the white undershirt, the baggy clothes, but the red interior of the jacket, I didn't notice at first, and it kind of struck me as like, that's really interesting. Why red? And my guess would be that it's to show that the character has this passion, this like burning fire inside of him that separates him from other delinquents, and that's why the red's there, right? Underneath the surface of a delinquent is somebody with true passion and a fire and a desire for his goals. What are they going to be ultimately? We're going to have to wait and see. But the other character that I want to talk about this week is Draken. Draken is cool as hell. I really liked Draken. Draken was super neat. I think one of the things with Draken that impressed me the most was the hairstyle, as opposed to Mikey, who just kind of has this like, I don't want to say bland, but sort of just like whatever hair, right? Like it looks cool. It's cool, like, but it doesn't give a lot of insight into the character. Draken's hairstyle is cool, and it kind of says something about him. So he's got this like ponytail with the shaved sides and this rad as hell dragon tattoo on the sides. That is cool, and it gave me Kiryu vibes, which immediately made me like Draken. The instant you give me Kiryu vibes, hell yeah, I'm in. Because I think the idea of giving Draken in particular the dragon design, right? Not only does it fit the name Draken, right, draconian, like in the sort of dragon vibes that the name Draken invokes, but also like the dragon vibes just kind of come with Draken as a character, right? A dragon is a grand, formidable opponent, right? Like the reason why Kiryu has the dragon tattoo is because he is the dragon of Dojima. A dragon's like an intense bestial character, like bestial character, right? Like a dragon is intense and strong and nigh unbeatable. And that makes a lot of sense for who Draken is. Draken is a nigh unbeatable character, so from what we can tell. Doesn't look like many people screw with Draken or Mikey, but it makes more sense for Draken because Mikey's supposed to give you this vibe that like, oh, everything's fun and dandy, but really he's a badass, whereas Draken wants you to know. You know, like, he is a dragon. When you see a dragon, there's nothing unassuming about a dragon. A dragon wants you to know it's badass. So, like, that's what you get from Draken, and I really dig that. As for the eyes, Draken's eyes are basically pitch black, which, again, does give me sort of, like the same authority of Mikey, but with, like, a little less to work with, because black eyes are, like, I can't really work with a lot with that. If they're all black, usually that indicates demon, but with which could be what they're hinting at with Draken, this sort of like demonic side to him, because we know Draken's like a badass, right? But Draken, I'm gonna lean more towards, instead of it being like a hint that he's like a real badass, which he is, I'm gonna say the black eyes are actually more of a hint towards him being kind of mysterious, right? Same authority as Mikey, not as much, because Mikey has black and blue, both colors of authority, but Draken definitely has more just all black, and with that I think it's authority, but also that sort of hint at mystery, like what's going on, right? There's like a spooky nature to black, right? Black's mystery as opposed to like purple's mystery, because I've talked about purple representing mystery a lot in many videos, but I think the black eyes definitely sort of indicate that Draken has a bit more of a dark, mysterious kind of soul, you know, like he is like authoritative in the same way that Mikey is, but he has more of a mysterious vibe that hopefully we'll get to see as the show goes on. As for like the rest of his design, I think when it comes to his outfit, he has the more interesting one. Like, Mikey's outfit is cool, but again, a lot of Mikey's design is sort of unassuming until you really look into it, right? Draken wears his heart on his sleeve. Like, you can tell who Draken is by what he is wearing. And with Draken, you see this sort of black and white diamond checkerboard, like, jacket that he wears over top of his, like, baggy, you know, delinquent clothes. And what I get from that is a dude who sees life as a chess game, right? Like the checkered board, right? Like this dude is with Mikey, he is his knight, he is on the battlefield, but he also sees the world as black and white. You know, like Mikey is good, everybody against Mikey is bad. Because he is an incredibly loyal dude, you know, like he will stand by Mikey through thick and thin, like that's his dude, he's not gonna let him down, and I really respect that. And I think Draken's design is super, super solid for who the character is trying to be, right? And I like that he's very black and white, right? Like things like, this is what I think is good, this is what I think is bad. There is no in between. You are good or you are bad, right? Like, and the way he sees that dude who is like kicking the crap out of Takemichi, sees him as bad, kicks his ass, doesn't like kill him or anything. He just kind of like is like, all right, I mean, I don't like you because I see you as bad. You're a tool that we use, so I'm not gonna get rid of you, but you're not a good dude, right? Whereas Takemichi and Hina, sort of Hina, more Takemichi, because he was kind of pissed with Hina, but with Takemichi, he's like, you stood up to me, and you stood up for the person you admire. I really respect that. Not a lot of dudes would do that. It's kind of old school, right? And you could tell, like, just by that line, it's kind of old school. You could tell that Draken has the same hope for a future delinquent era that Mikey does. And yeah, I think the dialogue for Draken is just as good as the character design. And yeah, Draken just as a character, I thought was super, super rad, and I can't wait to see more from him. But speaking of Draken, Speaking of Draken, I will admit that there is something that has me concerned, my dudes. I want to talk a little bit about future events, right? So we get the whole scene with Hina and Takemichi, which is dope. Hina, best girl out here, okay? Like, Hina, absolute top tier. I respected the hell out of her, because Takemichi's like, she's shaking, right? But she stood up for her man, right? Like, she stood up for her boyfriend, said, like, no, you leave him alone. But turns out that that Mikey and Draken seem to think that Hina's actually pretty cool. And they even tell Takemichi, like, you should protect her. Mikey in particular says, like, protect her. She's cool. And so my hope is that future events are enough now where hopefully Hina's okay. We don't know yet, because it's still super early and Takemichi hasn't gone to the present to find out if she is okay. But that's sort of where we're at, right? Like, okay, things are all right. Not great, not bad. They're all right. However, what I noticed is that in the future, right? Like, or not the future, but the present, right? Like, in the present, we see that picture of Mikey. And we are told that Mikey and Kisaki Teita cannot meet, because if they meet, then this like crime syndicate goes to hell in a handbasket, and it eventually leads to Hina's death. These two can never meet, right? And when we meet Mikey, he's a good dude. So it's like, well, what the hell happened, right? Here's the thing. This is my big concern. And again, I'm anime only. And these videos are made for fellow anime onlys. Manga fans are, of course, welcome to watch them. But just, if you know, just say asterisk laughs in manga. Like, and that way I can't tell if you're agreeing with me or disagreeing with me. And so here's my anime only theory. Draken is super dead in the future. That's my theory. Like, that's my big brain theory. Why do I say that? Well, because in the picture we see where it's Kisaki, Teita, and Mikey, Teita seems totally unchanged, right? He has an evil smirk in the past. He has an evil smirk in the present. He still has the glasses, similar hairstyle. He looks virtually unchanged, right? Look at Mikey. That is not the same dude we meet this week. That is not even close to the same guy. So what the hell happened? My guess is this. My guess is the reason why Mikey falls off and sort of just goes along with what Kisaki Teita is implying, because it's kind of clear to me that Kisaki is the one who's like giving orders in the present day, and Mikey's just kind of going along with it. Here's my thing. I think Draken at some point dies, and that is enough to shake Mikey to the point where he is sort of unwilling to chase that dream era for delinquents that he once was, because clearly Draken is after that too. So maybe it breaks Mikey's heart and stops that dream of his, like just shatters that dream of his. Reason I bring this up, look at the picture again. Mikey's face is clearly different, right? Like the hair, clearly different. But if you pay attention to the hair, it just parts over the neck where there is a dragon tattoo identical to Draken's. I don't see Draken in that picture. Like, there is a dude with like a shaved head in the background, but I don't think that's Draken. Like, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong and they've already said, like, no, Draken's alive in the present. I don't remember them saying Draken's alive in the present. So that's my anime only theory, is that Draken dies and Mikey gets the tattoo in honor of his friend, but that death rattles him to the point where he does join forces with Kisaki Teita, and ultimately, you know, this results in the death of Hina in the future. So that's my big brain theory, is it's not just about stopping Kisaki and Mikey from meeting in order to save Hina, it's also stop Draken from dying to save Hina. Like, that's my big brain theory, is you save Draken, you stop Kisaki from meeting Mikey, you save Hina. That's my big brain theory. Am I way off base? Probably. But that's my theory. And with that said, everybody, that is going to wrap up today's video here. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, leave a comment down below. And of course, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, set notifications to all, let all of AndyTube know that you're here. Make sure you get the video to 100 likes by the end of the day. I'm dead serious, because like 100 likes or I will not cover next week. I mean it. It'll break my heart. Don't do that. Be with me. Let us show these people, okay? Let's show these people the glory that is Tokyo Revengers. Hit that like button. Show people you want to talk about it, because I want to talk about it. So show them. Let's see it. And of course, before we go, I want to make sure that I give a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all these beautiful names. And hey, if you'd like to join these beautiful people, there are 2 ways to do so. First is by hitting that join button right beside the sub button. Gets you a badge next to your name. Emotes to spam in the comments, all that good stuff. Or you can hit that Patreon link in the description. That's just a single $1. Get your name scrolling past the screen. It's a big help. So either way, super appreciated. So once again, big thank you to the T Squadron, and that is it for me. I am admittedly a little bit tired. I'm gonna go rest now. It's kind of hard to calm down after a Tokyo Revengers episode though, because is really hype. It has everything I like. It's got like the hypoo, the shippable characters, like everything's so good. 100 likes. We can do this. I'll talk to you guys later.